to the Bomb Hole.
Bomb Hole Podcast.
It's going to be very hot. It's going to be very uncomfortable for everybody.
The Bomb Hole.
We're gonna slide down them big hills, you know what I mean, on the big, nice burgundy snowboard.
All right, here we go. Another beautiful day in the booth here at the Bomb Hole, which is presented by Pub Beer and Liquid Death. Huh, Buds?
It is.
Now, I have a question for you, Stony Buds. And
What's
that
that?
question is, how are you doing?
So good, my dog.
Always love hearing that. To my left, we have Melissa Riitano. Melissa, what's happening?
You know, I'm here. I'm stoked.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
We just found out before we started recording. I'm just going to give a brief intro. Melissa is a ripping snowboarder and an absolutely ripping human, and we are so happy to have you. Now, before we kind of dive in, she kind of mentioned she hasn't ever cracked a fresh smelling salt, so we're going to crack and run through a wall and kind of hit the ground running. So just give that thing a squeeze and a whiff.
I just squeeze it.
Squeeze the middle of it, and it'll turn red. Now give it
Snap,
a...
crackle, pop.
Oh.
Whoa! She went in on it. She went in on it.
Oh, it's so much worse than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, that
And
one's
by
fresh.
worse, you
That
mean-
one's got some onion.
My eyes are watering.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Wow, I'm awake.
We need a little fiber? Maybe?
Wow.
Yeah, your eyes are definitely watering. Holy shit.
Oh, my God. I didn't think it was going to be that bad.
Ooh, that was a strong one.
All right, Melissa. Well, let's get right into it. Huh?
Yeah,
Might
let's
have been
go.
a double doser
Yeah,
right
that
there.
was a double.
Something,
Yeah,
dude.
they packed a little extra vinegar in that one.
I like that
I
one.
don't think I was awake, but that definitely did
I'm
it.
awake.
Now
now.
we're good. We're good. Ready to literally run through a wall. If you need to get up and run through some
Don't
sheetrock.
run through the one behind you.
Yeah.
That's the booth.
You're gonna want to run through something over there.
Be sick, actually.
The glass.
Human hole through the booth.
So you ended up. That would be amazing. Imagine just like a Melissa Riitano body outline.
Just
of-
that silhouette when she ran through the
Oh,
wall.
my God. That's your new decoration.
That'd be sick.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So you grew up from Montana, right? You're originally a Montana OG.
I am. I grew up in Montana. I think most people I meet think I grew up in Colorado because I lived there for a short time, but it was a really great place to grow up. Mountains were close enough, like not in a city, which was great.
Not a lot of population in Montana, correct?
Not a lot of population, especially like where I lived. We were outside of the main city. I was in East Helena. There's
What's the main city up there?
I guess close to where I grew up was Helena, but
Okay.
the actual like city there was probably like Bozeman or Missoula, which I think still they have a population under 100,000, or at least when I was growing up.
That's like Park City.
So one thing that I think is kind of cool, if you take snowboarding and the demographic of most people that do snowboard, they're usually from wealthy families and whatnot. And I know that you kind of grew up in kind of a more lower income upbringing, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. East Helena was kind of like the lower income area. We grew up in an apartment that cost $100 a month. That's like all we could kind of do at the moment. But it was kind of great because it allowed my parents to save up to actually get us into a home eventually. And I still do remember moving into that place. It was on a dirt road at the time, and it was painted this disgusting bluish teal color. It was definitely a fixer-upper, but it was cool to like still have those memories of this crappy like apartment area. Like things were pretty falling apart, and being able to move into a house was really cool. And by that time I think we were on welfare, like food stamps, for a while when I was growing up, and then got off of those. My parents just absolutely crushed it and just hammered through it. I don't know how they did that, honestly, with 2 kids.
And your parents were pretty young when they had you, right?
Yeah, they were super young. My mom was 21 when she had me, and I think 19 or 20 when she had my sister. Definitely young parents, and I think my dad was just a few years older than her. So I don't know how they got through that. I can't imagine having kids that young.
And $100 a month apartment.
Woo. Yeah, it's always comforting too, knowing like parents don't know what the hell they're doing.
No.
Like I think of my parents like they're they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
know?
you think when you're a kid they know everything.
Yeah.
But then you find out.
And you think when I was 19, if I was gonna have kids, I would definitely
Yeah.
be a fucking disaster.
Oh my
Yeah, it'd
God.
be
I can't
crazy.
even imagine, honestly. Like, I really can't. Like, having 2 kids in school now, like, my parents were definitely, like, superheroes, especially my mom. I'm just like, you're a boss. I can't even picture it.
So how did you get into snowboarding up in Montana?
I started, I think when I was in 7th or 8th grade was the first time I went. My cousin did it, and I really looked up to her. I thought she was just one of the coolest people. She was kind of like mine and my sister's older sister in a way. Like, she was always around, like, taking us, like, to do fun things, taking us to the park. So she snowboarded with all of her friends, and I thought it was super cool, and I wanted to be like her, so that's kind of why I picked up a snowboard for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking to Chris Beresford, your significant other, it sounds a lot like you kind of had, once you got a taste, like you kind of had a insatiable drive to try to make it happen. I know, like, trying to go to High Cascade and move out of Montana, you worked really hard to kind of build up that drive and save some money and do those type of things, right? Yeah,
totally. It was kind of, once I started learning how to actually not fall on my face and make it down the mountain, I just like couldn't imagine my life without it. So my main goal was just snowboard. I didn't really think of anything else anymore. All the money I saved was like going around to local mountains and just doing contests for fun. I didn't really have a goal or a plan in mind. I just knew that I loved it. I went to High Cascade one year. I literally just hustled chocolate chip cookies to my teachers. I did like anything I could to make it happen. And I remember it was like $500 short, and my grandpa knew how much I loved it and wanted to go. So he like footed the extra $500, and I was just like, no way, I can actually go to camp. Like, this is so sick. Yeah, I definitely worked my butt off to make it happen.
And how old are you when you went to High Cascade?
I think I was 16. I think maybe my sophomore year of high school.
I feel like that's a lot of times like a pivotal moment for people where they're like, they see you look through snowboarding through your small little lens of your local hill, and then you go to High Cascade and it kind of blows the ceiling off of everything.
Opens.
Does that have that effect
up
for you at all?
Oh, totally. I'm like, I'd never seen a pro snowboarder until that point. Like, nobody is snowboarding in Montana, really. Like, people are, but they're not at the resorts necessarily. Like in Cook City, snowmobiling or building jumps. But like, I hadn't really I didn't even know who most snowboarders were, because I'm like, oh, I'm just here. And like, there was one local shop where you could get videos, but there wasn't like really the culture established. So you didn't really know who was who. We just kind of did it, and it was really fun, and had videos that we'd watch like on repeat over and over.
Yeah, that's sick. It sounds killer. Now, at what point did you kind of say, all right, I'm gonna pick up and move on from Montana and pursue I believe your next phase of your kind of snowboard path?
I was a junior in high school when I just really wanted to keep doing it. I'd already kept missing so many days of school up until then. I almost got kicked out of school my junior year because they're like, I had pretty much straight A's. I was a freak. I don't know why I did that, but I just missed too many days because I would just take off for snowboarding. It would be good, so I just left. But my junior year is really a pivotal. Like, I realized you could graduate high school early, so I had to write letters to my teachers, write letters to like the school board, and get a letter from my parents, and it was like a whole thing. But I made it so I could graduate halfway through my senior year, so I could just snowboard. And from there, I really had friends living in Tahoe and friends living in Colorado. So 18-year-old me in my $250 car took off to Colorado, and I stayed with one of my friends for a couple weeks in Steamboat. One of my best friends, Mariah, stayed with her, and then snowboarded that year in Tahoe. They had like the double whammy pass at the time. So it was like you could board North Lake and South Lake. It was $200. And yeah, I just kind of went on my own journey at 18, just took off because I'm like, I need to get out of here.
Now, I have a question in regards to that. Who is Jiminy?
Oh, I did just say his name.
Jiminy Cricket?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't say his name.
Oh,
you
I didn't.
You didn't.
I
I just have a side note.
Oh, it's the saga of Jiminy.
Yeah,
oh my God.
The people need to know who Jiminy is.
Jiminy, or Jiminy Crickets, is his full name. He was my first car I ever bought. It was I think it's a 93 Subaru Impreza Sport, like kind of one of those little green beans. I bought it off my friend for $250. They're like, this thing is probably just going to shit the bed. I can't even believe I'm selling you this. He's like, the transmission's blown. You need to do the transmission. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. I got it. I'm like, I just want a Subaru. I love it. And bought it, fixed the transmission, and it gave me no issue pretty much for 9 years. It was insane. But people started knowing my car more than me. That thing was like a rust bucket. It had like a dent in every corner, and I loved the shit out of it. I couldn't believe it lasted that long. Like
Perfect first car. Huh?
Yeah, perfect first car. I took it everywhere too. I went to like Hood a few times. I went to California. I went to Colorado. Like definitely places now that I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was insane.
Hey,
I'm
your
like,
$250 car.
I'm like, what was I thinking? I look at like now I'm like, oh, I do have my oil change. Like, is this okay? I'm like, okay, I'm good. Let's go. Now then I'm like, I don't think I need an oil change. No, it's running like probably 2,000 or 3,000 miles over.
It's amazing. So, and you worked at a bunch of restaurants and stuff to save up before you moved out, right?
Yeah. So when I was graduating early, I was still working 30 hours a week at a restaurant. I was, I can't remember if I was waiting tables at that point or if I was bussing still because I wasn't 18 yet. So I was just bussing tables, working every single night, doing double duty with school, like doubled up on all my classes just to graduate early. So I don't there's those moments that you look back and you're like, how did I do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. Also coming from your upbringing, just like working really, really hard to get out and to, nobody's really giving you any opportunities. You're just kind of making your own opportunities. I love that kind of storyline of working hard and just chasing the dream. It's killer.
How much money was in your pocket when you bounced?
Not enough, almost not enough. But I want to say I had like maybe 8 or 10 grand saved up by the time I left. Yeah, I did pretty good.
Wow.
I came home with $17 though, which was terrifying. Like at that point, I had got myself a credit card, like a fake graduated card, only had $300. Like it was my actual emergency thing. But I remember driving home and just like putting my debit card in like the gas pump. I'm like, please don't reject.
Please get me home.
I know.
But before you left home at 18, you had that much money.
Yeah, I worked my ass off. Like that was all me.
Jeez.
Like I worked at a restaurant. Like I worked very, very hard.
I did the same thing, but I think I only had like $1,500 and moved out west.
That's so much money when you're
that's
I
so
didn't,
much
I
money.
didn't spend a dime. I don't know. I'm like, my lifestyle is
You
so
were rich.
different now.
Yeah. I think that's so important though too, because you look at and I hate to use this term, but when I'm looking at like a lot of kids, you see a kid in a brand new freaking, like I saw a kid in a brand new BMW the other day. It's 16 years old, and I'm like, that kid,
didn't buy
the
that.
kid's fucking doomed. Like what do you learn from that? You learn that you are basically like everything's gonna be handed to you the rest of your life, and then inversely, like you're really kind of setting that kid back. I think, and then when you grow up, not just with your circumstances, you learn that value of $1 at a young age, and that seems like so important. And then look, you carry that work ethic through and it keeps that fire burning in you if you had to work for it as opposed to if it's handed to you.
Totally. I just bought I bought a brand new car this year, and I I've been working my butt off where I saved, and I'm like, God, it was such a good feeling. I was like laughing, crying, driving off the lot. I'm like, oh my God, I have a new car.
Brand new cars.
Brand new. Yeah. I don't know. It was a goal that I really wanted to achieve. Not that it's like the most important thing, but it was just a goal that I wanted to
no
achieve.
worries with a brand new car.
Yeah.
Dude, and that thing's sick. You should be proud of yourself for that. That's awesome.
I feel really proud.
That's awesome. Well, I know that sometime around that area, you kind of experienced some type of trauma. I think when you're maybe at the end of your high school years or anything. Do you want to elaborate on any of that stuff?
Yeah. I kind of debated if I would share this or not, but I think hearing Jess on her bomb hole be so open and honest with everything really kind of inspired me to reach this point, I guess. So when I was younger, I was sexually abused as a child, and that was really hard to get over I don't think it's not something you get over, but something that I've lived through and had to deal with growing up. It definitely shaped a lot of who I am today, like in negative ways and positive ways. I think when you go through something that traumatic, I guess it's hard to put into words, like to describe like what you feel. Like I know there's a lot of people out there also. I know I'm not alone of people who have experienced this. I read a statistic the other day that it's like 1 in 4 women have experienced this and 1 in 6 men. So I know it's not something like completely that's happened to women exactly. But I haven't told too many people in my life because I just don't want them to like feel bad or like that's the last thing I wanted. Why I haven't shared it. I'm like, I don't want people to feel bad for me that it happened, or like I don't want people to like blame themselves. And more recently I started opening up to people close to me about it, and I realized how healing that is. It's really like brought me closer to them when I was just afraid it was going to make them think I was just not lovable, I guess. It's like the best way to put it.
No, I have to take the second to acknowledge you and your vulnerability for this, because you know it's so important for your words, what you're saying right now. There's probably somebody listening that is in your shoes, and to be able to share your experience is so powerful.
Well, and they're going through it.
Yeah,
probably,
going through it.
like
Yeah,
currently.
Yeah, and it fucking sucks. It's like when you like start to really dive in and realize what happened and how that has affected you on such a deep level. And a few people that I was like, originally when you asked me to be on the bomb hole, I kind of just like, I'm just like, I can't do this. I'm like, this is a story that like I really want to tell, but it's honestly terrifying because you're like, are people going to look at me different? Like, what are people going to think if they know this secret about me? And it's something I've been holding on to so tightly. And I think it's really, like, held me back from getting relationships closer with people. But the more people I listen to on podcast, I listen to Lewis Howe's, I think, I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Lewis Howe's
School of Greatness.
Yeah, the School of Greatness.
Yeah.
I don't know how I stumbled upon that podcast last year, but he talked about and opened up about his sexual abuse experience. And that was something that really helped me like kind of sift through everything that I was actually feeling with this. It's hard to know everything you're feeling. I remember being angry for so long that it happened. And I mean, you have to let go of that anger. Otherwise it just tears you apart. Like, there was one quote I kept going back to, like when I was getting through this. It's a quote by Buddha. It says, holding on to a hot coal, like anger is like holding on to a hot coal. You're the only one who gets burned. And I was realizing how much anger I was harboring over this. So I learned to like forgive myself for what had happened and forgive the person that did this, because they're never going to say sorry. That's not what I need. That's not what anybody needs in that situation. Forgiveness is for yourself in that moment and not for that other person.
And I think people, when they go through that, at first they think it's like something that they did or it's their fault, or you start to blame yourself, you get mad and you don't know how to react. And talking about it's the best thing, I imagine, to get it out, let it out.
It totally is. It's
and
definitely...
people are only going to think you're stronger,
I don't know. We'll see. But
when you went through it, you survived it, you're an awesome person, and, it's your journey. It's what happened, and you just have to...
It's life. Life is messy.
It's messy.
Yeah, that's
what it is. Yeah,
best way to put it. Like, life is hard, and sometimes life fucking sucks, and that is so real. It's so real. Like, that has led me to moments where I just didn't want to be alive anymore. And I know there's a lot of people close to us that have experienced that. It's not a place that's good to be. It's not a good place. You don't want to feel anything anymore, and you're just like, I just want this to be done. Like, I want everything to be done. Well,
also, I do really have to acknowledge the way. How do I put this? Like, the easy thing to do is to bury it in the corner and pretend it doesn't exist, and just kind of numb yourself out via booze, via drinking, via distraction, whatever. But it takes so much courage to say, okay, this thing fucking scares the shit out of me. I'm going to take a look at this. And what you just said, I keep going back to, did AA, and they have a thing in there called the St. Francis prayer. It's pretty long, but one of the lines in it is, to forgive is to be forgiven, which I always found to be a really good. And it's like you think when you're holding on to resentments, like holding on to that anger, it's the easier thing to do, but that's really powerful stuff to, like that quote about the coal, how you're only burning yourself. I love that.
Definitely helped me like kind of get through a lot of anger because I know whoever has experienced that, you feel a lot of anger. And I didn't want to admit it was anger at first, for sure, because I'm like, I'm a happy person, which I am a happy person. But I when I started admitting I was feeling like anger and resentment and like all these negative feelings that are hard to admit about yourself. It's not the fun things to be like, oh yeah, I have a lot to work on and that's okay. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot to go through and that's also okay.
And some people it happens and they black it out.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it till later. We had Jason Ellis, it's on this book behind me, went through a trauma in his youth and didn't figure it out until I think his 30s. He was like on LSD and had a hallucination. Well, the first time he was on LSD and had a hallucination and saw a person and they told him he was abused as a child. And then he went and dug further. And then through ayahuasca, he really got the full story out, confronted the person, but he fully blacked it out and buried it as deep as you can bury it and wouldn't have even known unless he had that journey with those drugs. But it's crazy, and I'm glad you didn't black it out at least.
I tried for a while.
I mean, you probably tried, but that's probably the worst thing to do.
Yeah, it just eats at you. I when I was younger, I definitely tried to because I didn't this happened when I was really young, and I didn't realize this had happened until you start learning about stuff you're and then I'm like, oh wait, oh shit, this you're like, this is really wrong what happened, and you're like, oh my god, I feel awful, I feel so awful. So I started I realized you could get high off of stuff you could find in your medicine cabinet. I remember I drank half a bottle of cough syrup before I went to school, and it literally I threw up in class, but I definitely numbed me out. So I kept sticking to stuff like that could just make me just numb. I would drink a lot and I would smoke weed, and this is kind of before I really fell in love with snowboarding. This is I was a gymnast for years. I quit doing gymnastics and just kind of fell into a black hole, which was easy where I was growing up. Kids' parents were not good influences on their kids. The parents had meth around, and it was just not a good situation. Drugs were accessible. Drugs were easily accessible. And I was 15, I think, 14.
Wild.
Yeah, it's wild to think about. It's that's just not normal to grow up in, and that was just normal for us.
And it would have been so easy to go down that rabbit. It's probably the more natural rabbit hole for your environment would have been to go that way. But another thing that's kind of trips me out too is I look at you and you just appear to be that you're such a happy person. You are. And and you never know what somebody's going through. You never know, and even take Jaeger or things like that, or take social media. You look at this facade of people's lives where everybody looks like their life is so great and everybody's doing so great and everything's awesome, but you never know what somebody's going through. So it's so important. What you're doing is opening up and sharing and talking about the real shit that nobody cares. The facade is the facade, but everybody struggles, and it's super important to I'm proud of you for talking about this stuff, Melissa. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. No, I was definitely, I'm still even shaking a little. I'm just oh my God.
Did you try to ask anyone for help in the time?
I barely talked to people about it for a really long time. Barely. My parents didn't know. Nobody knew in my life.
Is this a teacher or something, if you don't mind me asking?
It was an old babysitter. When I was really young.
Yeah, that's horrible.
But yeah, no, I didn't. First of all, in those kind of situations, when you have somebody acting like that, they're a complete predator. They're not forcing you to do anything necessarily, but it's a manipulation tactic that they use. It's somebody you trust, somebody somebody you've been around. So they gain your trust, and that's kind of the way that something like that happens.
They're playing mental warfare, huh?
No, they totally are. And I think it's taken me a long time to like realize that it wasn't anything that I did wrong.
Of course.
Not at all.
Yeah,
And
you were the innocent person.
yeah, and anybody else who's gone through this, like it's nothing that you did. It's just that person is sick. Like it's not you. Like you didn't do anything to provoke this and that's like been a hard pill to swallow. I think being like, it wasn't my fault that it happened, and it's not anybody's fault this happens to at all. Like not even close. I wish I reached out for help sooner, because that probably would have saved me a lot of heartache. Like when I first realized it happened, I reached out to a couple people, but I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want it would be real.
Yeah.
And also, like, for some reason, I didn't want to get them in trouble. I'm just like, that's so stupid to think back on.
I think that's a normal thought, too.
I think it's totally normal, because, like, what that does to, like, your psyche, it just kind of makes you feel like you don't have self-worth, or you don't have, it makes you feel worthless, basically. Like, somebody's taking something from you that you can't get back. But I know now that it's not the end of the world, and it doesn't define me as a person. Like, I'm thriving now, and I don't know where this other person is, and I know they can't feel good about themselves. There's no way. Or they're just a complete Looney Tune, and they feel fine, which is also don't care.
I'm sure karma came around to them, you know?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I do have to ask, because I think, you know, you've become just a phenomenal snowboarder. And I got to ask, did you use snowboarding as a form of escapism? Was that your kind of escape from reality in some ways? Or
Totally. Yeah, I could, definitely was a thing I used to escape. Like I would, especially when I was younger, I wasn't afraid of getting hurt. Like it would just kind of could take all my anger and frustration out and like kind of hone it into things and just be extremely focused on something, because that was the only thing I was thinking of at that point now. Like all those bad feelings kind of subsided a little. So it was kind of my escape, especially when I was just riding the mountain. Like the mountain I grew up at had a really crappy park, but the mountain was really fun. I was like more into riding that as a kid and not necessarily the park, but that was definitely a huge escape. It was just, it felt quiet finally.
it's awesome to you got to figure out ways to fucking survive, right, as humans and work through trauma. And it's kind of a beautiful thing that you have this snowboarding that is so perfect to take all this angst and this energy and put it towards something for fucking, it can be for survival purposes. You know what I mean? Like you need it to not crumble and turn to drugs.
Yeah, it could have been drugs.
It's a much healthier drug.
Snowboarding.
Right?
Exactly.
That's awesome to hear that you're able to channel that into that, and it makes me happy to hear. And fucking snowboarding can be therapy, basically.
It definitely can be. It's like, not to say that I'm fully over my trauma. I'm still like working through it. Like I don't want to give anybody false hope. I don't think it's something you'll ever be through, but finding outlets that are healthy. Like I do. I try and do as much yoga as possible. Now I meditate almost every day, even if that's just for 2 minutes. Like that's all. Like sometimes that's all the capacity to do. But snowboarding was probably the key to like really healing.
Mm-hmm. Now on your journey, I've been told by some of your friends that you are a pretty avid reader, and you've looked into, I fucking love the whatever, call it self-help category, whatever. But do you have any good reading recommendations of just books you've enjoyed?
Yeah, I do love reading. I think probably one of my favorite books that I read was called The Confidence Gap, because I realized I didn't have any confidence growing up at all. Like I had no confidence, but it kind of changed my way of thinking to being like, oh, it's okay to think negative thoughts, and like it's normal. Like doesn't mean you're not a positive person, or it means you're not doing things right if you're thinking negatively. It's normal. So that book is huge, is so great to read, especially if you're struggling with any situation or trauma like this, or just like really can't figure out how to get to the next level. I think that was a really good book.
The Confidence Gap.
Yeah, I have to check that out. I think we're all trying to figure it out. So
Yeah.
any like, I think that's why I listen to podcasts. I'm like, maybe this person can teach me something. And I'm trying to figure this shit out myself, you know?
Everyone
seriously.
is, right?
So
Everyone's
it's
stumbling around.
and then also you mentioned the podcast that you helped you out, Lewis Howe. He's got some. I've listened to a bunch of his stuff. He's got some good guests and.
Yeah, I really love his podcast. The School of Greatness is really, really great. Especially if anybody's interested in listening to that episode where he opens up out about his sexual trauma and abuse. Like anybody struggling through that, I think should definitely listen to that, especially men, because it's probably like it's probably harder for men in some senses. Like it almost feels like it's taking away some of your masculinity. Mm-hmm. Like that would be insanely hard too. So hearing it from a man's perspective, being a guy, like is super, I think probably helpful too.
That's killer.
Makes sense. There's going to be a lot of listeners that are probably going through this. Do you have any advice for them?
Be compassionate to yourself. We're all really hard on ourselves, all of us, especially that are in this action sports world. We want to do our best at all times. And to be soft with yourself and tell yourself that it's okay to make mistakes, that's the best thing you can do. Like, don't rush the process of healing. It's going to happen. It's going to be not fun at times. It's going to probably reopen the wound again. But you're going to be filled with so much love after. Like, talk to people close to you that you trust first. Like, I'm not recommending, like, talking to everybody. Like, you don't have to share it with the whole world. Like, but that was just my choice. I knew it would help me process this more. The more I open up, it kind of helps me connect with people more because I feel like I've always been guarded and I'm sick of it. So,
Yeah, time for something different. Huh?
yeah.
Proud of you, Melissa.
Well, and you started with just your tight friends, right?
Yeah, I started
Yeah, and
with
your
just,
loved ones.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. Loved ones,
Yeah.
close friends, and I don't know. I just felt like it was time. It was, I don't know if I hope this would help somebody.
Well, it's important. Yeah, you could be helping someone that's, ready. They're at a point where they're ready to turn to suicide and not get through it. You could be that voice that helps them through it, and that's a great thing.
I hope anybody listening that's going through this, I hope it helps because it hurts,
Yeah,
but it's okay.
and it's got to be
Also-
talked about.
Another thing that you just mentioned too is I think it's the two things that you just highlighted there, the be kind to yourself. That's really powerful stuff. You see it a lot in sobriety when people are trying to get off of drugs. They quit for 2 days and go back out and they're like, I'm such a fucking idiot. I'm so stupid. Why that, like, we're so hard on the way we speak to ourselves. We would never fucking speak to another human that way. We would never be that mean to. It would be the meanest. You'd be the meanest son of a bitch on planet Earth. The shit you say to yourself, and it's like, just be fucking mindful. I love that. That's a great. I needed to hear that. Thank you. And then the other side of that too. If you really look at just like. I'm gonna go fucking deep. I'm gonna go deep here. We're like on a different
do it.
level. But if you look at the way society's set up right now, right, it is built on comfort, right? Like let's make everything as convenient as possible. We'll have Uber Eats. We'll have our cozy heater in our house. We'll fucking make everything as comfortable as possible. And if you really look like in a lot of the fucking self-help shit I read all the time, because I'm doing the same thing, it's so much of it, the common theme is all of the growth comes from being uncomfortable. The enemy is the comfort zone, so it's like, be at the gym, like you struggle and then you get strong from discomfort. Be it snowboarding, you can stay in your comfort zone and you can do a back 3, or you can be like, fuck, I'm gonna try to scare the shit out of myself and do a back 7 or whatever that trick may be for you. And be it with, you can apply the same exact thing to personal growth, personal development, working through trauma. Like it's more comfortable to just say, oh, this trauma is going to be in the corner here and I'm just going to fucking watch TV. Or you can say, fuck, I'm going to stare this goddamn demon in the face and I'm going to try to I'm going to get it's going to be uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to, and I love that narrative that I'm just trying to highlight kind of what you said there. But, in our society, we need to like lean into the, like making a pattern of being uncomfortable is a great narrative, I think too,
I 100% agree. Like, I try and make myself uncomfortable once a day.
It's great advice.
Talk to somebody you're nervous to talk to. Like, even talk to a stranger. Like, that's a good way to break out of your comfort zone, being like, hey, like, this is what I do a lot. Like, I see like somebody at a coffee shop, like, I'm getting my coffee order from, if it's a girl, I'm like, oh my God, I like your earrings. Like, but it's something genuine, being like, I genuinely think her earrings are cute, so I'm just going to say it, or just like something like that. And that's uncomfortable for me, but it opens up such a good dialogue.
Yeah, it makes their day too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Buds is a master.
I do that all the time.
Buds is a master.
I love that.
He's a
It
black
makes them
belt.
so happy.
Yeah. Yeah, Buds, you go to 7-Eleven, he's chatting with the guy that's having he looks like he's on a bit of a bad string of bad luck. Buds is out there chatting with him always. Yeah.
That's so rad.
Helps them to talk about it, and they always get so hyped after.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
nice to make people feel good, you know?
being a human, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what it comes down to. It's like, I think we forgot about our humanity sometimes. Like, we just see each other, like, even when you're driving, you're just like behind this person, you're like, oh, you're driving so slow, and you're just like,
Driving's kind of a special spot, though.
Throw all the self-help books out the window.
Oh my God,
You don't
seriously.
really get to see people, you
They're
know,
like,
so it's a
"Move
little
it."
different.
I know, like, but you're like, just picture like this stupid car, and you're like,
Yeah.
forget that there's a person in that car controlling it,
Exactly.
but still, like, that one is a different situation entirely.
It's when those people, like, you see someone not open the door for someone when you're walking in a store or something.
Yeah.
Or they just don't even look at people walking through the street. It's, you know, it's like people need to say what's up to other people and
Yeah, like,
just be nice.
be a human.
Yeah, be a human, exactly.
That's what everybody said too, talking about you. They're like, just like, Melissa is just so genuinely just a good person. And that's just it's a good trait,
No,
you know?
that's a great trait.
I love that.
I love my friends.
Another thing too, I just thought back on like a thing that happens to me. Like I'll go to like, you know, like Leah, you know, she'll do this like sound healing or yoga or something. I'll go to one of her classes and be feeling like a zen fucking dogger, dude. I am fucking zenned out. And then I go outside, I get in my truck, and like immediately I'm like, motherfucker.
Life would be so much better if you didn't have to drive anywhere. Jesus. Utah.
Everything out the window.
Everything out the window.
Drive in the right lane. This is a PSA. Drive in the right lane.
They don't do that here.
Oh my God.
All right, we're going to talk to you guys about Toe Pro lifts. They kick ass. I'm currently in the process of getting one for my cabin. We've struggled with DIY rope toes forever, and finally somebody's making a production rope toe that you can put in your backyard. They're called Toe Pro lifts. You can find them at toepro-lifts.com. And these things are killer. You can hook it up to a generator or to Sure Power if you have that. And it hauls 3 to 5 people. It's a game changer for backyard boarding, and especially with, you know, the lifts the resorts are pretty crowded these days. You know, if you dream of having that backyard park, definitely get yourself a Toe Pro lift. These things kick ass. We rode it over at Bjorn's this year to test it out, and it was incredible. Full blown game changer. Their Instagram is at Toe Pro lifts, and if you use promo code BOMBHOLE, if you're thinking about buying one of these, you'll get 5% off. So again, toepro-lifts.com. Use promo code BOMBHOLE, and it will be a game changer for the backyard boarding. You get so many more laps. You're going to get so much better, learn way more tricks. Make sure you pick up one of these Bad Larrys if you're trying to make your dream backyard a reality.
The Bad Larrys, dude. Bjorn's setup when we went there, that was awesome, man. I was shooting photos, watching everyone use that thing. It looks so fast, too.
Yeah, you're freaking back up to the top of the hill as soon as you.
Yeah, instead
you
of
hit the rail.
watching people hike back up and take all that time, it's just mass productivity. More time snowboarding, less time hiking.
Let's lean back into some snowboard talk. So I'm curious personally to know how did you get your foot in the door with sponsors, and how did you kind of climb that ladder per se?
I feel like that's just a saga. I had no clue. Like, growing up in Montana, there was no kind of industry, like set industry there. There was local shops. That was probably like my first chance, I guess. Like, the local shop, they only sponsored one girl, and there was one girl that was graduating high school, and she was moving on and moving out of town. So they're like, oh, we need a new girl on the team. And there was probably like 3 girls that were snowboarding at our home mountain. So they picked me, and I was thrilled. I was so thrilled. But I mean, that didn't really lead to anything. I'd say like my first really getting my foot in the door, like I had sent a lot of emails. I will definitely, this is before iPhones, so you didn't really have a good way to get footage of yourself. So I think I emailed Rome the first time being like, hey, will you sponsor me? Here are some photos. I don't have a video though. That'll come later. Definitely failed. I sent a lot of
How did that go? Any
ghosted.
You just like you got the email off the website, or
I don't even know.
you don't even know where you got it.
No.
But you didn't know anybody. You
No, I didn't know anybody. I just like
cold calling them.
Yeah, I would do that a lot, and
you got to try, right?
Yeah, I didn't understand how it worked at all. I really didn't get it at first. But my first sponsor, like a friend of a friend knew somebody from Signal Snowboards, and that was kind of like my very first foot in the door. And then I would just film stuff on GoPros with friends and like get in edits. I think it was kind of a dream. I'm trying to think of like when it actually started happening.
Then you moved so you were in Tahoe, and then
I was in Tahoe. I moved back to Montana, and then I moved to Colorado the next year. Rado.
Sorry for making fun of you so much, Rado.
we
actually love
I
Colorado.
had the best time in Colorado.
We
I
do.
have to
We love
say
you,
that.
but we love you're kind of our punching bag.
Did you ever live in Colorado?
I did. I spent a lot of time at Chado's house. Heavy name drop, but
Shadow.
no big deal.
The king of
Just a
Colorado. I
legend.
mean, I was just hanging out with him, staying on his couch.
I enjoy my time in Rado, but I also enjoy having Rado be our punching bag.
What's funny is how many people have like lived there and enjoyed it, and then we still just go back and
They just get roasted
I lived there for
all
6
the time.
years.
You can snowboard all year. It's sick.
it's not that sick.
It's sick, but don't get carried away.
The mountains.
I mean, I
are-
live in Utah for a reason.
Once you
Let's
come
be
to
real.
Utah, your eyes are a little bit opened up to what a nice mountain really
Yeah,
is. you know?
exactly.
Those are like East Coast mountains.
They kind of are. They're like giant hills.
Yeah, they're like Park City. Just
And the shit is cold as.
It is cold
True.
as.
Yeah. So you're in. Let's go. Let's talk Rado talk. So you're in Rado.
Rado talk.
You moved to Rado.
Steamboat, is
Moved
that what
to
you said?
Rado. I stopped in Steamboat. One of my best friends, Mariah, lived in Steamboat, and then
You give her an air horn.
yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, I lived in Breckenridge. I kind of bounced around a lot. Like I wouldn't stay in the same place for too long because I'd still like go to Hood, but that's another story. But Rado days were fun. A lot of park riding. That was kind of like the main focus. The parks, I will still stand by that, have the best parks. Honestly, they're so much fun. I still would love to go ride Area 51 at Keystone. That place is really fun. Can't deny it. Trying to think what.
You can ride fast too in
Oh,
Colorado.
also, if you
Slow people, they slow you down there.
Yeah.
Oh, now they
Yellow
do. I guess
jackets.
when I
Yellow
lived there,
jackets,
when
yeah.
I lived there, there weren't any yellow
No,
jackets.
you ain't
Yellow
going fast in
jackets
Rado.
suck.
But
Really? They
if
just
you
slow
wanna-
you down all
if
over
You
the
get
mountain?
pulled over.
You get
It's like the
tickets and
freaking
stuff.
cops.
Oh, that's right.
We watch people like outrun them, and that's actually hilarious.
You
Like,
get in
they,
big trouble though, right?
They pull your pass for the year.
Yeah, you're done.
Also, if you want to get good at park riding, though, like move to Colorado, dude. You go there and it is Chuck Fest 2009
Yeah.
every single day, dude. People are just
Every
chucking
day.
road.
Every single day.
Yeah,
They really are.
yeah. So that's a great fucking place to hone your skills. So you're in Rado now. Are you sponsored when you're in Rado yet? Signal.
Signal came a little later. The first year I moved there, no sponsors. I think Signal came the year after, maybe. Just starting to dip my toes more into the industry. Like that came after. And I really didn't have any sponsors. After that, I think Bonfire, I literally can't remember how I even connected with these
And
people.
what was your big break when you got your first sponsor?
I would say the biggest break was getting on K2 because I was at a point where I was about to just quit snowboarding because I wasn't making any money at all. Like I was just strictly doing it for the love, and I'm like, this isn't making sense anymore. I need to figure out something else because like I'm really sad to let this go, but I'm like, it's not working. And then K2 kind of reached out of the blue. I think Pops set that one up
No
with
way.
Tommy J. I think
That's
give
sick.
Pops an air horn.
That's dope.
I think they were just looking to add more riders to their team, and especially females. So my name got thrown out, and he was down, and that was kind of like a big turning point. I wouldn't probably have a snowboard career without Tommy J and K2.
That's awesome.
That's for sure.
Shout out to Tommy J.
Yeah, Tommy J's the man.
Okay, so I think we should talk about, I guess it's kind of, I don't know if it's a touchy subject or not, but it's something that needs to be talked about. But I'm going to preface this with the fact that Buds and I are two dudes that have came through snowboarding as dudes. And the lens that we know snowboarding is through the lens of dudes. And I think the best way for dudes, I'm saying dudes a lot, I know, for whatever, us idiots to understand is by putting, just in any situation, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, So it helps us understand. And I guess I'm curious from the lens of yourself, what were the pros and cons coming up as a woman in snowboarding? Do you feel as though you were granted the same opportunities? What are the pros and cons?
Kind of just like mesh them all together. That'll be the easiest way, because like I don't want to like dog anybody necessarily, because I don't think that's where we're at, especially now in the industry. I think there's been a lot of positive changes, but coming up, definitely people weren't looking to add females on their teams. I think that was a big one. Like when I was searching for sponsors at first, it wasn't like, oh, like we should look into getting more females on the team, which now I think people are definitely paying attention more, being like, we should get women on the team. We should definitely do this. But I definitely always, speaking to the people in those places of power, I want them to really think about like what they're saying and how they're saying it, instead of being like, oh, we need to get a woman on the team. Like we need to build our women's team up, and just really being considerate and not just adding it to fill a space, but
check the box per se.
Yeah, to check the box, like being like, oh, I really believe in this person as a snowboarder. I don't just want them on the team because they're a woman. It's like, that's kind of the respect that we, I think, deserve, especially now. Like we've always deserved it. We've always needed to own it. But now more than ever, like women are out there killing it. And I think deserve equal respect and equal opportunities as the men, which I can only speak on my own situation. Like I feel very fortunate with where I'm at right now. I feel like the companies that support me are very welcoming and want to support me, not just because I'm a woman, but because they like what I do on my snowboard. And I think people that aren't there right now in companies and heads of companies need to catch up to that. Like definitely a big challenge to those people to like change your frame of thinking. Don't make it a need. Make it a want. Make it genuine. I think Jess really explained it well in her bomb hole, like what it feels like being a woman on the industry. Like sometimes you're not invited to like all those big trips that all the guys are on. Like, and it's not them trying to exclude you. They're just thinking about their homies and their friends. Like sometimes it's weird to throw like that feminine energy in, but knowing how important it actually is, like to feel included. Because like that's really all it comes down to is like women want to feel included because we work really hard. We do the same thing. Men also work really hard. Don't want to like bring down the other side at all. Like everybody's working their butts off for no pay, especially nowadays. But
that was very eloquently said. I love that. One point I have, and that I think is, I just was thinking about, I guess a take on this a little bit, but if you just, because you're talking about, and as it pertains to men and women snowboarding together and being in crews and stuff, I was just randomly thinking about this. And if you take like a group of 17-year-old dudes, right, and they're hanging out, like I think take it snowboarding or not, like sometimes like kids in that age group and stuff, like they just don't know how to act around women. They're just like,
Facts.
They're just like, sometimes some dudes are like mean to women just because they're just like, that's
They're
their
just
way
not
of like
ready yet,
flirting,
really.
and they just don't know, so, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, but I'm like, the 17-year-old boy is a fucking idiot, like that's just like, that is one of the dumbest species on planet Earth. No offense to any 17-year-olds that are listening, but I mean, I'm speaking for myself. Like I was
Like, I've been there.
I'm an idiot, and so like when I put myself in those shoes, you just don't like, you're just with the boys all the time. You don't know how to act, but I do love that. Like, dude, you don't need to act like that. You can invite the women along, and you don't need to like get all weird around them. But I think some kids are awkward at that age.
Be yourself. Like tell the same jokes that you tell, even if we're there, because we can handle it. We think it's funny. Like I swear you should hear how a girls' night goes. Like I'm sure it's even worse than what you guys have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too. You don't see young, like we had Lick the Cat, we had Dustbox. There's never like a young female crew. like that, or females in those young crews.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, it's just
It's interesting.
Bunch of dudes. Dude soup. It's a dude
Dude
soup.
soup in these young crews.
I think the closest one was probably Too Hard, but
True.
not.
They were more like just put together.
Yeah,
though,
put
right?
together, not like a really like
Tight
crew.
friend group.
Yeah, exactly.
That actually all lived together and hung out, and that'd be hectic.
Oh my
Be
God.
good. Where is that? Where is
I've
that young
lived
crew?
with 13 girls though 1 year at Hood, and that was mayhem. That
Just
was
craziness.
absolute mayhem.
Yeah.
But it was great.
The funny thing is like dudes, we get together. Like you said, I love that. It's such a great point. You put a bunch of dudes together. We are idiots. We're talking about nasty shit and like making fun of each other. But like women, I hear Leah and her friends get together. It's like you guys are talking about some raunchy shit too. Like why can't we all just do it together?
I don't know. That's a great question.
It's a scary time out there in the world, though.
True.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what's good or not good.
Leah's good at just saying whatever on her mind.
Yeah, she also doesn't have much of a
I'm
filter.
like, damn, I love it.
No filter. That's awesome.
All right, well, I think it's a great time to transition before I get myself into hot water. Let's get into Name That Video part. Here we go. Name That Video part is presented by the Ikon Pass. Now, if you're a snowboarder and you go snowboarding, you're going to want to pick up one of these bad Larrys. Buds?
Yeah, if you don't have one of these, you're going to get left behind by your crew when they're out checking out all the different destinations that you can use the Ikon Pass
Where
at.
can we use these things at?
45 destinations worldwide, 5 continents, 9 countries, 15 states in the U.S. alone.
You can get a lot of riding in all over the world with this Ikon Pass. And their tagline is Own the Stoke. It's not lease the Stoke. It's not counterfeit the Stoke. It is own it. So own the Ikon Pass. Head on over to iconpass.com. And you're going to get a great deal over there too, right?
Yeah, and don't try to sublease the Stoke. I heard too that'll
No,
get you in trouble.
you don't wanna
gotta
lease it.
own the Stoke. $499 USD for adults.
That's a phenomenal deal for the Ikon Pass. Now, again, iconpass.com. We'll also have the link in the show notes, in the description if you're watching on YouTube. And you can pick yourself up one of those bad Larrys and have a great winter. We hope it's going to snow, feet upon feet of snow, and get yourself an Ikon Pass. All right, Melissa, this is big. This could be big for you. We're doing Name That Video part. Now, confidence level 0 through 10.
Not high, that's for sure. Probably maybe a 1 to 0.05. I'm really bad with like on the spot.
All right, I like that.
Stuff.
Better than negative.
Yeah,
Could
not
be worse.
it could be worse.
All right, here we
That's
go.
low.
Let's see how you do.
That sounds like a Jess Kimura part.
I could probably guess just knowing you.
Or it's
It's
one of
probably.
Chris's.
I'm gonna say it's Chris or Nirvana.
Oh, no, I know which one this is. It's definitely Chris. He does like a cool like flip off these I don't even know what they were, like a pillar. I know the clip. Stack footy?
Oof.
Is there a flip off a pillar?
I hope that, I'm not sure. That's unconfirmed.
This is a bad thing
So
for
she's
everyone.
not watching her significant
I
other's
am
part.
watching his part.
We might just cause a domestic dispute at the
Yeah.
house. This could be
I
a bit, this
swear,
could
I
be-
know it's one of his.
You
Well,
know,
at first I was like,
you
Jess,
want the
and I'm
girls
like,
and
no.
the boys to hang. You're not even watching your boys' parts. You're not even
Okay,
interested in what he's
No,
doing
I know
out
it's
there.
one of it.
All right,
Don't throw me under
all right,
the
so,
bus.
all right, I'll give you this.
Too
It's
late,
one, of
I already
Chris, it's
did.
one of Chris's parts, and it's not a Think Tank movie.
Oh, snap.
Wait, is it Susie Greenberg?
Yes, it
I
is.
thought I was like, that's too much of a meatball, though.
Here it is. And
This
guess
guy
what?
lobs
We're
meatballs.
going to
You
give
just
you
got to realize that. It's
a bomb hole
participation
cooler.
award.
We'll count that as a W. She did get it. She needed a little coaching, but we'll give it to her. The button's on the top.
I think that was an L.
Oh, you're counting it as a loss. Buds is giving you a loss. I'm giving you a kind of participation
I'll
award.
just give this to Chris as an apology. I was like, I'm like, maybe it's a Jess. No, I'm like, no, it's not Jess. I'm like, it's Chris's. It's Chris's. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
And then
that's
he
actually
didn't
not
say
the
it.
easiest song in Greenberg. I
That
will
one's
say.
not. Like, it wasn't the part. I recognize the beginning of it,
Yeah.
but
I kind of there was an easier one that I probably could have given you, but that's Chris Beresford and friends and in Susie Greenberg 270, and also sidebar, Melissa, the reason why I thought you'd get this is because she made a Susie Greenberg 270 the movie Spotify playlist.
I did, but I did. See, this is what I'm saying. I'm really bad on this phone.
But also,
songs.
where can people find that? Because that's a dope thing.
Spotify?
I think just on my Spotify. I think I just made it into a playlist.
Dope.
Where I did it when the movie came out. Because I was like aggressively always, not aggressively. I was always listening to like the robot food playlist. So I'm like, I like this playlist. And Scott crushed it with the playlist. I thought it was really fun. It's a good mix.
The soundtrack's awesome.
Yeah, there's a Lord of the Rings song in there too, I think.
Lord of the Rings song.
Yeah.
It's got a
That's
great
so sick.
soundtrack. Okay, for part 2 of Name That Video Part, this is for the listeners. Basically, if you know what video part this is, comment on Melissa's photo on Instagram when this comes out. That's where we pick our winner. And you'll get a chance to win a prize pack. Now, little hint, we always, this is a female video part. So here we go. Okay, thank you guys for playing Name That Video Part. All right, we're going to talk to you guys quickly about Bubs Naturals. Now, we talked to you guys previously about the collagen protein powder, which I like to absolutely chug, and as does Jeremy Jones. We've mentioned it before, but Jeremy Jones broke both of his legs in an avalanche, and he's had a very long road to recovery. A huge staple in his road to recovery is Bubs collagen proteins. We talk about it a lot, but as you get older, if you want to keep boarding, you want to keep staying fit, you got to take care of your body, and you got to get collagen in your system. It's, how you grow muscle, how you recover, all these things. I'm not a scientist, but I could be if I wanted to, and if I was a scientist, I would have probably created Bubs Naturals because it's
Exactly. And collagen's what it's a glue that keeps the body together, we like to say.
They also have these little gems that I've been chomping on. They are apple cider vinegar gummies. It's almost like you're eating candy.
Delicious.
But it's great for your gut biome. I know that Angie, it helped her stomach, right?
My wife, she was, after she'd eat, she'd get upset stomach. She would get kind of sick. Started taking these every morning, and no problems anymore.
Incredible.
So
now,
we can speak from experience.
Bubs is owned by some lifelong boarders. They are members of the community. They're awesome. And it's got a great story. 10% goes to all charity. Bubs was a Navy SEAL that lost his life, helping others. So, it's a great company with a great cause. And if you want to pick up some Bubs, head on over to bubsnaturals.com. Use promo code BOMBHOLE to save 20%. Again, bubsnaturals.com, promo code BOMBHOLE. Get yourself some Bubs Naturals.
We're going to get into a Patreon question, but first I would like to say thank you to a couple of the big dog supporters on our Patreon. We got Michael Gunderson, John Canner, Peter Busk, and Trent Dix. Thank you so much for your support. Air horns for the boys. So, we got a question for you from KP. I'm wondering if you can speak a bit about how you have ended up with such great people surrounding you, and how you're able to maintain friendships while being on the personal grind so hard with your snowboard career.
Great question.
That's a really great question. I don't know. I feel really lucky to have all the people that surround me in my life. I think it's just like we're all really rooting for each other, like genuinely rooting for each other. I think that's just how I've maintained good friendships. FaceTime, of course, communicating. That's a big one. Just staying in contact, and that's probably like the big basis of it. Just like, I don't genuinely supporting each other's interests and staying in contact. I think that's like the best thing, because you definitely can't do life without friends. You can't do snowboarding without friends. Like, you need good people around you, like Kelsey Boyer, Nirvana, Jenna, like Micah. There's so many people I could name right now. I just feel so grateful for my circle of friends in general. Like, they're all really great people. They all are really striving to like do their best in life.
It's true. You can't get out there and do snowboarding alone. One, it's not as fun. Two, you just can't make it happen if you're trying to make a pro career.
No, not at all. Like,
you actually get on the phone and FaceTime with the girls, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
I love
tight.
Yeah.
I'm more of a texter these days. I should start FaceTiming more.
FaceTime is fun. I hate texting.
Yeah, because you actually get to see what's going on.
Well, speaking of friends, let's get into a guest question from none other than Kelsey Boyer. But she has I just got to commend her with an incredible introduction of herself in this. Here we go.
What's up, Bombhole? KB on the mic. Stoked that you guys have Melissa in the booth today. Hi, Mel. I am here with a guest question for you. What is one thing personally and professionally that you would like to accomplish before your life is over? Kind of deep, but such is life. Can't wait to hear this episode. Melissa, I'm your number one fan. Mad love to all of you. Cheers.
KB on the mic.
KB.
KB is on the mic.
Love you, KB. Also, your audio was great. Did you record that in the closet? Because I know you're sitting in the closet with your
That
iPhone.
was really clean, good
know.
audio.
She might have went to like Lil Wayne's recording studio and
She might
got it
have.
mastered. There.
She built these things, and
Yeah, that was crisp.
That was crisp. Oh my God, I have so many goals before I die, that's for sure. I guess we'll start with snowboarding. That'll be an easier one to answer. I feel like I'm chasing that video part that I'm really proud of. I don't know if that's always just a constant chase.
Chasing the dragon, we call that.
Yeah, I don't think. Does it exist? I don't know.
in the streets, it's called chasing the dragon.
But also, I don't know. I want to start exploring more. I want to get in the mountains more. I really want to do just like a big method into powder. That's like kind of one of my big goals. I know it's attainable. Exploring more snowboarding. Getting out to Alaska has been a goal forever, probably since I started snowboarding, riding all those big mountains. Goal in life, big always goal, I guess that's on my mind, is just spreading kindness to other people and like helping them be more kind in the world. Just being more kindness in the world, I guess, is like an overarching goal, as like a continuing goal of mine.
Spread kindness.
You want to release more Dekine out into the world?
More kindness. I don't know. A lot of my goals I do keep quiet about until I can start actually doing them, because I don't like talking about them before I do them. That's kind of my MO. When I start seeing them work, I like talking about them, but I don't really like talking about them until
There's some action going on.
I just keep them kind of tight in my head.
Yeah, that's smart.
Being kind, though, is awesome. That's just a great universal thing that more people should try to focus on, right?
Yeah, and there's a difference with being kind and being nice. It's like I view kindness as being honest and having integrity, and also being nice is a part of it, but kindness is like telling people when they're fucking up too.
More genuine. I like that. Now, earlier what you just mentioned was you want to do a big old method into powder.
Yeah,
now,
how big we talking?
I was curious about your significant other, and also part B, how big. But your significant other, Chris Beresford, great dear friend of mine. He
an air horn.
Let's give him let's give him a super air horn.
Yeah.
There we go.
So he might need that after too. You didn't forget his, little brownie points after the video part debacle. So what I'm curious about, if you watch Chris ride, his fundamentals, his board control, his grabs, they're fucking incredible. He's an incredible snowboard. Now, in what way has that impacted the way you ride at all?
Totally. I've definitely always have been up on my fundamentals. Like, I've always liked doing those little like fun butters. Like, that's kind of why we connected on a snowboard so quickly, because we both did that kind of board control stuff. But I've definitely learned a ton from him. Like, learned how to like kind of tweak things a little better. He's like, oh, this would be better if you like kind of tweak it like this. Like, and I'm like, oh my God. He's just like opening up my eyes to all these tiny little tweaks that I can do. But I think we've both been drawn to the same kind of snowboarding as far as like board control. Like, I love knowing how to maneuver my board and not just go straight down the hill.
Mm-hmm. And that's also understanding your strong suits as a snowboarder is really important too, because a lot of people are chasing the back 1080 or the back 270 to fakie, but there's the timeless tricks, like you take a fucking good method, or yourself, you're a great grabber. You got good stalefish, good Indy, good method. You look at Chris, he's the same way. And I'll personally, I'd rather watch Chris Beresford doing double Indy poke, over a back 10. like
He does
unless
those
it's
so good.
and that's a great skill set to have. It's really cool to see that you guys have kind of a similar riding style. I was just curious how much. Yeah. And then part B would be how big of a method are we
How
talking?
big is this method going to be?
I want to just go up. I want to go up in the air. I don't want to I'm not
Straight
as concerned
up.
about his out. I just want to
Poppy.
go up. I want to go high up in the air. I just have this vision in my head. I'm like, this is gonna work. It's gonna be. I want it to be on like hip. I just wanted to go more up than out. Like I don't care about the distance as much. I just want to see like blue sky and mountaintops, basically.
Love it.
That's great. That's good. That sounds like a good photo, bud.
Let's go 15 feet on a hip.
That sounds terrifying, but
Does
yeah,
sound
let's go.
terrifying. Ferguson over there, Burgess was claiming like 29 feet
yeah,
on that
29.
bad boy. I don't know.
Okay, another thing too that's cool. Talking about your goals, I think it's really interesting because I think maybe not giving yourself enough credit because I think you have a bunch of kind of a lot of layers to facets to your career. Because right now, explain aside from snowboarding, you do other things for other brands, and I think that's really cool. You should talk about that.
Yeah. So we'll start with K2, for example. I help Tom with social media stuff. Basically, he writes the whole calendar. I'm just in charge of posting it at the moment. Like, I know it takes a lot of stress off of his plate, but there's other ways to make money in snowboarding than just being on the athlete side. Like, talk to your brands, find other ways to make it happen. Because if there's not budget as an athlete, there might be budget somewhere else. It's like how a company is actually structured. They only have X amount of dollars to divvy up per thing, if that makes sense. Like per athlete, per marketing, but this budget's more from a different budget. So that's how he can make that happen and pay me more and be more involved, take pressure off of him. And I would like to keep getting more involved with that. It'd be cool to help him set the calendar, just working on other skills outside of snowboarding too. Cause I feel like it's scary to think about moving on to careers after snowboarding when you work so hard at one thing. To be more faceted is super helpful, and it gives you a lot of confidence on and off the board, knowing that you can do more than just not just I shouldn't say it like that, but do more than you thought you could.
And then what about Kodiak Cakes?
Kodiak Cakes, yeah, that's what I do all summer. I am a production coordinator there. It's basically doing the same thing as snowboarding, but with pancakes.
Pancake snowboard.
Yeah, basically pancake snowboarding. I set up all the shoots for us. I find locations and models. I'm a food stylist there too, and
You style up the cakes.
I style up the cakes and
Style-
make some
style-
pancakes.
Make sure the butter looks just right on top
That's
of the
a real
pancake. That's
thing.
got to be really
A
important.
good looking flapjack.
And the,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
syrup consistency, I imagine, is
Yeah,
important.
we use Miss Buttersworth. It just
Oh, you
stays.
do?
that
yeah.
shit hits. That
It
shit
does.
hits. Yeah.
I'm from Vermont, so I don't want to hear
You're
about
just
Miss
gross.
Buttersworth. You know
Oh,
what I
he's
mean?
an
That's
elitist. He's a
that's just
maple
like-
syrup elitist.
That's just like a pile of sugar.
Yeah,
It basically is, but
exactly.
it looks really good in the picture.
It does, huh? Because it's just big old sugar.
I'm not exposing any dirty secrets. There's no dirty secrets. It's
photos
all our,
well.
yeah, it's all
These
our
are dirty
mix.
pancake secrets that we're talking
We're
about.
getting some
right
insider
now.
trading info here.
Yeah, no,
We know about
that's
the
actually
pancakes.
interesting. Yeah, because the Vermont maple syrup's a little more. It's thin. It comes
It
from
is.
a
It's a
tree,
little runnier.
so it'd be runnier. So yeah, you get that thick syrup that looks real good in the photo.
Pro tip at the Buttersworth.
But it's all real food. I know places do motor oil, and we definitely don't do that.
What
'Cause-
motor oil?
Yeah, because it just stays on top. I mean, you
to
have
style your food, you put
yeah,
motor oil?
you only have like 10 to 20 minutes. After you pour the syrup on, the pancakes are done.
Yeah, because the cakes are going to be sucking
Yeah,
up
they
the
just get all
syrup.
soggy and gross.
Who eats the pancakes after?
Sometimes we do, but we try and make as little as possible because there's some waste, unfortunately.
Yeah, waste not, want not. But you got to get the photos done.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm really grateful that they let me come back in the summer because I randomly got this internship last year and I loved it and it just was a really good fit. And I'm like, well, my priority in the winter is snowboarding. I just can't do both. I cannot do this because it's a pretty demanding job. I can't do both. It just doesn't work.
What's really cool about that narrative too, if you look at, everybody wants to be a pro rider because it's just more glamorous. It's a little more sexy. But that's there's a lot of great jobs in the industry that are behind the scenes that need to get done. And I think it's cool to just, explore those and not just be like, well, you need to just pay me to be a rider. I'm going to add value in other ways.
Yeah, totally. You can definitely find a lot of ways. You'd probably be surprised. Like if you just talk to like, be like, do you guys need help with like social, like internally? Can I help at events? Like there's definitely like if they're stretched thin. I know that in some areas, like your team manager works their butt off for you. They work their butts off. That's for sure.
Another thing too, I think a big part of it also just showing up too, because if you show up and you're like, I'll intern for like not very much money at your company if you need any help, and then that's a great way to get your foot in the door. Like you said,
totally.
you interned, and then next year you come back, you got a job. So.
Yeah, exactly. And they're letting me do the same thing this winter, like because I'm like, well, if you find somebody full time, like of course hire them, like. And they couldn't find anybody. So they're like, do you want your job back? And they're like planning on having me back after the summer. But I'm really grateful that they let me do that. And it's just a great company to work for. People who run it, people who own it, they're all amazing. So.
They're blowing up too, huh? I see them at Smith's now.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Utah company.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, it started in Park City. And now they're kind of branching out more like nationwide. Like I think Canada soon for all those Canadians.
What kind of products they got to give them a little plug?
Yeah, why not? They're awesome. They do pancakes, I think, is definitely their most popular, obviously. They do, like, chewy bars, like crunchy bars. You can take them out backpacking and what other things? These microwavable cups.
Yep.
You
They
guys
got
have
the
to try
oatmeal.
those.
They got the oatmeal.
Oh, the oatmeal. The oatmeal's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I really
They gave
like
us some,
oatmeal.
like, cracker type of things in a bag.
Those
that
are
were
delicious.
those
The
things hit.
They're like
Bear
graham
bites.
cracker, bear bites or
Yep,
something.
it's the adult graham crackers.
Adult graham crackers. Those
I
are
don't
good.
even know if they're adult graham crackers, but they're good.
They're really good. They're
really
gone
good.
now, I'll tell you that.
I'll have to get you some more.
Get a
Buds,
drawer
you
full.
want to hit a Patreon?
We have a Patreon question from Madison Blackley. Can you share a story about how you spent your Christmas in 2017? We're at Brighton on a POW day. I don't think your holiday ended very well.
No, it didn't.
Little inside story
she was
we're
there.
about to get here.
She was there. God, I love Madison. Big shouts to
Give her
Madison.
another air horn.
She's so great.
I'm hyped she's a Patreon member. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Really quick, big shout out to Madison. She's the first person that really took me out in the streets, especially in Salt Lake. She's just a fucking legend for those that don't know her. She's great. She really is. Really big heart. Takes a lot of people out snowboarding. Like, gets them into the streets. She just really loves the shit of it. But I should answer your question now because I'm stalling.
Tell us about Christmas 2017.
Yeah, Christmas 2017.
Sounds like a debacle. Dude.
It does.
It was
It's
a
a
bit of
great
a debacle. I'll preface this. Chris and her boyfriend went snowmobiling, and so I was going to meet up with Madison at Brighton, like a resort day. I wasn't feeling that great, so I'm like, let's keep it mellow, early season in the trees, like don't do anything stupid. And we're in the trees, and I'm on top of this little rollover thing. It's just like one of those rocks in like the dirty trees, like stupid rock. And Madison's at the bottom. She just kind of like jumped off it, and I didn't want to catch air. I'm like, oh, I'll just go off this side where it kind of rolls. And I'm like, how's it looking down there? And she's just like, oh, it looks fine. Like, it's snowy. I'm like, okay, cool. And like, not her fault at all. There was a rock that was buried under the snow, and the nose of my board got stuck in the rock, and I just ended up flipping onto my face onto another rock.
No.
It was not good. It was not good. And all I could say is just, not okay, not okay. And those were the only words that could come out of my mouth. And I just see so much blood. And I'm like, this is not good. And she comes over, and like, I can literally just see like red down my face. My goggles are kind of off. And I knew there's a lot of blood. And I see her face. She's like freaking out. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm okay. And then she's like, oh my God, she was freaking out. And then I'm like, it's fine. It's a head wound. I'm like, head wounds bleed a lot. And I like went to go touch my forehead, and I just see her face go like ghost white, completely white. I'm like, okay, we should go now. But I guess like she saw my skull, and it was so bad. You can kind of see it still. I have
That
like
scar right there. I just noticed that.
yeah. So I completely like, when I hit the rock, I broke my nose really bad, and then my goggles pulling off my face split my forehead all the way down to the bone. It was so bad.
Wow.
So I just like I had just stuck a snowball on my head, and we rode down to ski patrol, and I was just like, holy crap, like this is so bad. I'm like, oh my God, can't believe I'm okay. I just like fell on my face on a rock. But
Was this Christmas Day?
this was on Christmas Day.
Bit of a red Christmas.
I know.
Ew. Red Christmas.
I felt so bad. Like, so we finally get a hold of Chris, like, get him, like, we're going down to the ER. And, like, the whole time, I wasn't freaking out. I was actually really calm because I'm like, I can't believe I'm okay. Like, this is nuts. Like, I was, like, semi-concerned. I'm like, the scar is probably going to be gnarly, but whatever. I'm okay. Like, my nose was super broken, though. I felt it looked like Rocky Balboa's nose.
They have to re-break it and stuff?
Oh, God, yeah. So, yeah, I went to the ER, and my whole goal was just to kind of make them laugh. I'm like, they have to be here on Christmas because I'm a freaking idiot. Like, here we go. And, like, thank God. I was so happy to have Chris with me. He's just a saint. Yeah, so go in. I just remember, like, after I get the x-ray and everything, they finally give me, like, some good drugs to kind of numb up my face and everything. And just waiting, watching Elf. Really wasn't that bad. It was just on Percocet watching Elf.
Elf's
like,
a great movie.
This is the worst day ever. Like, this isn't the worst Christmas I've had. But I just remember the doctor, we had a good, like, banter going in back and forth. He was just, like, going to try and make him laugh because I'm here on Christmas. Like, why not? And he comes in and he's like, so, are you ready for the cocaine? And I'm like, I have never done cocaine. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's what he said?
Yeah.
In Utah?
Just straight up. Yeah, I was like, apparently there's medical grade cocaine.
There is. I have heard that.
Yeah, so when you break your
And
nose.
it numbs your stuff up.
Yeah, they like literally have these swabs that they like soak in cocaine water or something. I don't know what they do.
Cocaine water.
They like
shit.
put it
Okay.
up like really far up your nose. Like, it's uncomfortable. Like, it's not fun. I'm like,
So,
yeah.
did you end up having like really long conversations till about 6 a.m. with that like you solved all the world's problems?
A little bit of a cocaine Christmas going on there.
Basically,
I guess you ended up having a white Christmas.
This guy's big with the puns today. Red Christmas, white Christmas. There you
I
go.
went from red to white real quick.
Real quick. I didn't know in Utah they were divvying out the cane at the thank you. Thank you at the
Medical grade. Yeah. But it was, yeah, it ended well. I got like plastic surgeon stitched up my face and like some pretty funny pictures and a pretty funny story. Like, all ended well. My nose is straighter than it was before. Like,
You might see Buds
Great gift.
Might you see Buds trying to break his nose after this on purpose.
I heard you guys got cocaine in here.
so you're going to take these smelling salts. This is what you're going to do. You're going to run through a wall.
And then go and get my cane from the Salt Lake Hospital.
Okay,
That's crazy.
Learned about medical grade
And Madison
cocaine.
saw
Yeah.
your skull.
Madison saw my skull.
Okay,
Gnarly.
I want to kind of pivot now. Hot word there. So what I was wondering too is I know you had a shattering injury to your knee, literally, and I'm curious about just kind of if you want to briefly walk us through what happened, and then I'm more curious about the recovery from that knee injury and maybe what came with that.
Yeah, that was my first major injury. It was early season. I didn't really kind of get myself physically ready for the season, that's for sure. I just like kept hammering out like so many long days in a row, and I was doing this rail jam, and I came off early on a rail. Long story short, it hit like the rail support like pretty dead on, and I didn't think my kneecap was broken at first. Like, I got pulled off to the side, and like my kneecap, I should have known, was like the size of a grapefruit. It was huge. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like, I think it's fine. Like, the medical person's like, you need a lot more pain. I'm like, oh, this is great news. It's probably fine. And then I even drew like a picture of a little pig on it. I should probably send that to you because I thought it, like, again, friends give you drugs and it makes it funny. It's not funny. But yeah, I got an x-ray and then had to get surgery. They put a plate and 5 screws in there, and it's still in there. But yeah, the recovery was really harsh. It was really harsh.
Did they give you any cocaine?
No cocaine this time. A lot of
Not for the
Percocet,
knee,
though. A
just
lot of
turkeys.
Percocet. Not
Perky.
Perky. Not a place you want to be, though. Definitely do not like taking prescription drugs. They're not fun.
The new trend is people are not taking them. They're just saying no to these doctors.
If I did it again, I don't think I would. I would probably just take extra strength Tylenol, honestly, because I feel like you heal faster when you don't take drugs. That's for sure.
That makes sense.
Definitely.
So when you get hurt at this point in your career, you're kind of like you haven't really made a lot of progress, right? And so what I'm curious is like, you've been chasing this dream snowboarding, you've been trying to fucking make it, and then you shatter your kneecap, and it's not like you're swimming in the fucking biscuits, you could say. Like, what was going through your head after you shattered your knee?
Initially, after, I was heartbroken because I couldn't snowboard. That was like my only concern. I'm like, when can I get back on my board? But then, like, I had a lot of alone time at that point, so I kind of just started diving back into myself, and I realized that I really didn't like myself as a person, basically, and realized I kind of sucked at snowboarding. I'm like, I don't really deserve to have sponsors, because, like, me at this point was looking around at all my peers and being like, oh, everybody's getting sponsors, everybody's getting hooked up. Why am I not getting hooked up? I'm good enough. And, like, just honestly probably had a really bad attitude. And then I just, like I said, I had just spent so much time hanging out by myself. I realized that I just didn't like myself, and I wanted to change. So that's when I started getting into yoga and, like, kind of diving into ways that I can change myself. And things that I admitted to myself was, like, I realized I was a pretty jealous person, which was a really hard thing to admit and a really hard pill to swallow for myself. And I'm like, I don't want to be this person. I feel like I make people uncomfortable. Like, I want to change how I come across to people. So I started reading books. That was another one that kind of started changing my mindset a lot. Like, the first sports psychology book I read was Mind Gym. That one's really awesome. It's kind of like a really great place to start for anybody who's looking to get into, like, sports psychology books.
It's one of Chris's favorites.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show. There's 2 Mind Gyms if anybody Googles it.
Yeah.
And I believe it's called, like, The Athlete's Guide to Success or
That's
something.
correct.
Yeah.
So just to, like, preface that. Keep going. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
We'll pop it in the show notes, too.
Yeah, that one's awesome. But, yeah, I just didn't like who I was and didn't like who I was becoming. So I decided right then and there that I was going to make a change. And that was kind of opened me up to, like, more healing. Life is crazy. Life is definitely just such kind of a journey to figure out and just, like, puzzle pieces to put together. But that was a really big turning point, not only in, like, snowboarding, but in life. Started reading, started doing yoga. And I just, like, kind of recommitted to snowboarding, and just, like, kind of made me love it more, because I'm like, I kind of honed in what I wanted to actually do, and I made a plan. First time in my life I had actually made a plan. Like, me before was just winging it the whole time. I'm like, oh, I either want to pursue contest riding or I want to pursue filming. That's kind of like the 2 options that I saw. I'm like, just pick one and try and, like, think about it the next year, and just the year after, go for it with all your heart. It was kind of like my goal. But after breaking my kneecap, I definitely went into, like, some dark holes, that's for sure. And that was, like, healing some of that abuse trauma that I had experienced when I was younger. That was, like, one piece of it. Healing the injury, like, first major injury, like, that was a huge part. Like, not having family nearby, not having friends nearby. And I realized I just wanted to be a better person. That's basically the long and the short of it.
That's great. And what I hear when you're saying that, you know, sometimes the worst things that happen to us can be the best. And the pace of our life generally in this day and age, we're going go, you know, and when you get injured, you got a lot of time to sit around and you can either crumble or, you know, use that time for some introspection. And it sounds like, you know, that could be one of the best things that happened to you is shattering your kneecap, you know, for that time, just to give you that time for introspection and stuff. You know?
I would definitely go as far to say it's definitely the best thing that's happened in my life as of now. It was great for growing uncomfortable, like we talked about before. I feel like personal growth is rarely comfortable, but just sitting through that discomfort and kind of growing through it makes you stronger. It's not fun at the time, not fun at all.
Little Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror time going on rethinking about life.
Oh my God.
Great reference, Buds. This is a great reference. Okay, I think this is a great time, Buds, to crack some can. What did you just crack there?
Liquid Death.
Wow, Licky D?
Licky D. Mountain water.
Yeah, how is that thing going down?
It's delicious. Ice cold like I like it, as you know. Death to plastic.
Love that. Liquid Death is a huge supporter of the show. Pat Moore works over there. He's an absolute leyenda, which is Spanish for legend. And yeah, they are a reason why we were able to make this happen. They're also a great way to get hydrated and look like you're chugging a beer. Liquid Death. Highly recommended. If you're interested in picking up some Liquid Death, head on over to liquiddeath.com/bombhole. Again, liquiddeath.com/bombhole. It shows us some love, and you get a couple of koozies, and then you're kind of looking dope, rocking some Licky D's.
Licky D's kind of got cool merch, too. Check out their merch.
Yeah, their merch kind of smacks, and it's time for the Liquid Death Spinning Wheel of Death.
Welcome to the Liquid Death.
Death, death, death. Spinning wheel of
Let's explain the process.
You are going to spin the wheel, give it a good spin, too. And you can't see it, but I can see it. You're going to give it a good spin. Chris is going to hold it, and we will read what it lands on. Where will it go? Nobody knows. Oh, office chair race.
Okay, this should be fun. We found a couple straggler office chairs in the back, and we are going to set up basically a 40-yard dash in office chairs.
This is basically like an episode of The Office right now, huh?
Yes, exactly.
This is real.
With real life office. How you feel about that, Melissa?
Going down.
Oh, there it is.
Competitive.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
These pro snowboarders are so competitive with each other.
Your footwear should do it.
3, 2, 1. Homie got second.
I started spinning.
Good job. Homie got second.
I got third. Oh no. Holmes.
We needed a win. Chris needed a win.
Melissa, that was a pretty fantastic race, I'd say. What happened out there? Why don't you tell the listeners?
I did bad. Just straight up. My chair spun and my hair went in front of my face, and I'm like, I think I'm just gonna fall right now. It's gonna.
We should have got her some goggles.
Yeah.
Homie, the dog got second.
Yeah.
Holmes beat me.
Yeah, is a real battle royale. All right, buds, let's go bomb hole of the week, and we're not talking about this podcast. What are we talking about?
We're talking about Volcom Outerwear's patented Zip Tech jacket to pant interface for when you create your bomb holes out there snowboarding.
Now,
everyone bails, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So who uses this interface you're discussing?
Marcus Cleveland, Mike Rav, Haley Langland, Jamie Lynn,
Reed Smith.
Mike
Rav, we say Mike Rav?
Yeah.
Pat Moore, Scott Blum.
Gooch
Benny Milam.
Gooch has been out there creating bomb holes for over 3 decades.
Absolutely.
I want to say.
Torgeir Bergam, when he goes for the switchback 5 method, he might get caught upside down.
Yeah, and snow is, if you don't have this patented Zip Tech technology, connecting your jacket to your pants, you might get snow right up the jacket, down the pants. It's going to cause you to get wet. You're going to then freeze. And then what are you going to do? You're going to sit in the lodge. And you're going to be bummed.
Potentially hypothermia, too.
Yeah, your friends are going to be out there ripping. You're going to be in the lodge bummed, watching them rip from the window of the lodge. Don't do it. Get Volcom's patented Zip Tech technology. It works in men's, women's, juniors. You can connect an extra large jacket to an extra small pant for a creative look.
Yeah, that's a good look.
Creative look. But either way, you're going to be dry. It's great.
Absolutely. I always see Mike Grav out there kind of doing some progressive maneuvers.
Yeah, this guy's rolling on the ground.
He's got all kinds of hot moves in the park. It works in the park, too.
Yeah, it's going to keep you dry no matter what you're doing. It could be slush. It could be powder. Let's go. Stay dry.
Okay, what do they got going on? I know they're doing a cool little giveaway, right?
What you're going to want to do is post your favorite bails. It can be of you scorpion on a rail. It could be you creating a bomb hole into the powder. We don't care. We just want to see you rolling around in the snow. Hashtag volcombombproof at the bomb hole, at Volcom Snow. And some of their riders are going to pick out their favorite bail. And then we're going to give you a prize pack from Volcom and the bomb hole.
Absolutely. Again, hashtag volcombombproof. Upload it onto Instagram and have yourself a great day. So I think we should kind of dive into a cool topic. Kelsey Boyer's names came up a couple times, and I know you and her, have started this thing, Save a Brain, and I want you to explain what it is and just elaborate on Save a Brain.
Yeah. Kelsey Boyer started Save a Brain. It's a nonprofit organization. We fully got 501c3 certified, so we are fully a nonprofit. She's been doing a ton of that legwork, like making all that happen. We are trying to educate people on the effects of concussions and brain injuries, like the long-term things that happen after them. Like sometimes you have emotional issues after, like anxiety and depression, and trying to just educate people like how to care for their brain after and what could happen. It's a really important topic. A lot of us, even if you don't get major concussions, even those tiny minor concussions can add up into something really big long-term.
So what type of stuff specifically are you guys doing with Save a Brain?
Currently, we are trying to have like a good presence online, social media, to like kind of spread awareness that way. Most recently, we started doing in-person events. We just did one with Woodward. We have pamphlets made by our board of doctors that are on with us. Wrote out what a concussion is, signs and symptoms to look for, when to go to the emergency room. And we're working on getting more resources where people can go after they've sustained a brain injury. And like, say with Kelsey, she wasn't getting better after a brain injury. Like she had to get her brain drained. Basically, she got brain surgery, had fluid drained out of her head. And she didn't get much information after, except for like, don't hit your head again. That was kind of like the information they gave her. Not a lot of concrete information after, like how to heal it or what would happen, what to expect. So she had to go search for it by herself, basically. That's what led her to create this, because she couldn't find any resources. Like she ended up going to Cognitive FX down in Provo. It's a brain rehab center. I think you went there too.
Yeah, I've been there, and you as well. You got a scan, didn't you?
I got a scan. I could not afford to go through with it all, but I did get therapy for my eyes for 2 or 3 months. I couldn't see straight. I like got a really, really bad concussion one year, and I didn't realize how bad it was until the following summer. And I'm like, my vision just keeps getting worse. I was seeing everything double. Like I couldn't see straight, basically, and I kind of hid that. I was like going through my season just trying to like focus on a point, and just I didn't realize what was happening. I'm like, I can't see straight. Like maybe I'm dehydrated, so I just kept drinking a lot of coffee and water and getting through it. And then I realized, and this is all because of Kelsey, why I realized it, that I needed to go get this checked out and like get eye therapy, which is crazy. Like do all these exercises for your eyeballs, which I didn't know was a thing. That's something that can happen after you've had a concussion. Like your vision can change, and that was affecting my mood big time. Like I was super socially anxious. Like I hated being around crowds of people. It definitely like affected me in more ways than I thought it could.
Yeah, it's awesome information for people. We'll have a link in the show notes for Save a Brain. It's a really, really cool thing you guys are doing. And I think it's like snowboarders. If you're getting some, you're probably good chances you're smacking your dome ski. And I think that, I think I've talked about it on air, and there's so many people that reach out and are like, I think I have concussion symptoms. And a great place to start is reach out to Kelsey or Melissa over at Save a Brain, and they can kind of point you in the right direction. And it's awesome for what you're doing, instead of just, for me, it was a full going. I went to Cognitive FX, and it fully changed my whole life.
Health insurance doesn't help that?
Is there some that do? No?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's $10,000 to do their Epic Week. I know everything. Like eventually our goal, like when we start actually banking a lot of money, is to like start sending people to treatment.
Actually
too.
Save some brains here.
Yeah. So we're starting with the education
Send 'em.
aspect. We've been doing a program. We're almost running for a full year now, called Happy Helmets. We get helmets from companies. They're amazing to donate them. And we find local nonprofits all around Salt Lake and give all those people helmets, like for kids and adults. Like we worked with Big Brothers Big Sisters and Utah Adaptive. It's been really cool to see, like, make a positive impact in the community.
Putting helmets on kids, that's awesome.
Exactly.
And adults.
Yeah, it's like a big way to prevent concussions. There's no way to fully prevent them, but being safer. I started personally wearing a helmet after, because of my brain injury, because it's just really, really sucked to go through, and I just was over it. I'm like, I don't want to do this again. Like, this was brutal, like, in a lot of ways. It cost a lot of money. It cost a lot of, like, my mental sanity. It was just not a fun ride. So I'm like, it doesn't make a difference to me. Like some people think it affects their style. I don't think it does, honestly.
It's crazy to me that insurance, there isn't a cheaper program. There's nothing. It's just 10 grand or have a good time out there.
No pharmaceuticals they can give you after, so that's probably why.
Yeah, probably, honestly. There's like...
Yeah, but you break your arm, they give you physical therapy. Like, why wouldn't they give you that for your head,
I think it's a couple decades behind in that type of medicine as far as the... And I don't know. I mean, I if we want to get in the weeds here, I would just say our medical system's pretty broken, so it doesn't surprise me in the least. But I'll tell you this from going and doing the therapy. Sure, it is a astronomical amount of money. It is huge. However, if you could afford it, I would say a lot of people, even myself, like I might say, yeah, I'll put that money for a new truck. Sure, I'll take that money and put it. But you want me to spend it on my brain? What are you, crazy? Like I'm not going to spend that on my. But really, nothing works without your brain, so that's something to keep in mind. Like you can't do shit without your brain, and you might not realize how fucked up you are till you go get a brain scan. And that's what happened to me. And there's not really a price you can put on making progress from, there's a lot of things that can come with concussions, depression, suicidal tendencies, and social anxiety, bad vision, the list, depending on where you hit in your head, it's endless. So, they're educating, you guys are educating people on all these types of things. And so it's really common is what we do. So
yeah, it is super common. Like we're basing in action sports to start just because it's what we know. Like we know people based in like biking and snowboarding and skiing and a little bit of skateboarding. We just want people to take care of themselves basically. Like after you hit your head, like it's going to happen. Like basically it's just going to happen. It comes with the territory, but we want people to be able to continue to do these. And I mean, we've lost enough people to suicide that we just like, it could be a piece of the puzzle. We're not saying it's the full piece of the puzzle, but like, what if part of this puzzle for mental health was you've gotten a lot of concussions and you need to like fix something in your brain. Like there's something off in there that you need to fix.
Melissa, can you tell us where we can look up the site? Maybe people are down to donate, or maybe they just want to learn more about the cause, and maybe they have an injury and they just want to read what you guys have, all the information. Instagram, website?
Yeah, our website is saveabraininc.com. Our Instagram is just Save a Brain. We have a resources tab there. It's our concussion curriculum. It's made by our board of doctors, so we got all certified through there, like signs and symptoms to look out for, when you should go to the emergency room. But this is just a guideline. Like always, we highly recommend consulting with a doctor because obviously we're not doctors.
But we know doctors.
But
yeah. We could be if we wanted to.
We could be.
we could.
Yeah, I was always told, too, you get a concussion, you don't want to go right to sleep. There's a lot of protocols if you have a gnarly one. So
now they're changing that.
Yeah, they're
Are they changing that?
Yeah, new
So
science.
they want you to go right to sleep now? Or
they want you to rest.
Or they want you to go to the doctor?
It just depends on, like, the severity, like what the person's acting like. If they feel like they're acting fairly normal, no like slurred speech or anything, they're usually fine just to go to bed and like rest. You don't have to wake them up. But if you see like a heavy decline, if they have like a really, really bad headache to the point where they're throwing up, they're not making sense, like you should definitely take them to the ER. Because that's what happened with Kelsey. Like she had bleeding in her brain, and our friend Micah took her, and thank God she took her because she definitely would have died if she didn't get brought in. 100%.
Can you donate on the website?
Yep, there's a donate button. If you want to donate, we definitely appreciate any of the help we can get. Then we can just keep doing more. So we're going to be at Dew Tour this year. We're going to be getting more involved with the community. It's going to be really exciting.
And what about if you're a kid that wants to get a helmet and you can't afford one? Do they contact you, or they got to be a part of a group? Or
No, I'd say just reach out. We can try and make it happen the best we can.
Sick.
We'll reach out to brands. Like we haven't done that yet, but I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. Yeah. There's so many programs we want to set up still, and that is definitely one where people can just apply to get a brand new helmet.
That's cool.
One thing that's really cool we got for this to try to, contribute to Save a Brain, Melissa has some signed prints of her doing a nose blunt shot by Stony Buds, or recently we've been calling them Scony Buds because you've been chewing on a scone.
Scony Buds.
Scony Buds photo. And so you can basically head on over to basically bombhole.com, buy a print. All proceeds of the prints will go to Save a Brain. So you're getting a print and you're donating to a good cause. Head on over to bombhole.com.
Awesome.
Definitely appreciate that.
We are going to talk to you guys about pub beer. Instead of talk, we're just going to act.
Wow. Love that. It looks like it's going down pretty smooth, bud.
It's delicious.
Not only is it smooth going down, it's also smooth on the wallet because it's cheap, fun beer.
It is. It's very drinkable.
How many bad boys do you think you could put down?
Personally?
Yeah.
I mean, in my heyday or now?
Let's just say heyday, hypothetically. Heyday. How many do you think you
18-pack easy.
Wow. Turn an 18-pack into a 0-pack.
No
of
problem.
Pub beer. No problem.
If I'm at sea level, probably even more,
You can
I
put
got the
down
altitude working for me,
maybe 22?
Probably 22, deuce.
A little deuce. Wow. So if you want to put down 22 pub beers and support the show, pick them up at your local beverage center that carries them. And with that, we're going to get into the pub beer crapshoot. Here we go.
Welcome to the Pub Beer Crapshoot.
All right, I feel good about this one.
I do too. It's
So-
going to be a good roll.
Tell them the sixes.
So we got the Goon Gear dice, and the Goon Gear logo that you see is a 6. You're going to roll 2 dice, and we are going to read what you hit. The number you hit is something you're going to have to answer a question or do something. No, it's just
you
question
could
based.
potentially win a $100 pub beer check.
Oh, that's
as well.
true. You could win $100.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
All right, give
So
it
roll both.
Give it a roll. Yeah, roll them
yep,
both.
both dice. 10.
Looks like we got a 10. Wow.
Wow, we
Okay.
have not hit one of those yet.
We've never rolled a 10. This is exciting. Perfect 10. What's your biggest prize check you've won? Like an oversized check.
I've never gotten an oversized
Well, that's
check.
good news. If they've never won a check, we are going to give you $100 from Pub Beer. So,
Didn't know you're going to be getting paid today,
wow.
did you?
No.
She's making some bisque today.
Making bisque.
Gotta love that. Come on here, make some bisque.
Love it.
So you're going to get a $100 check courtesy of our friends over at Pub Beer.
Wow, thanks, guys.
What are you going to spend that on?
I don't know. I feel like I should do something fun with it. I'm like, I'm going to put it in my savings because I'm an adult. But I should actually have fun with it. I don't know. What should I spend it on?
Do something fun.
You could
I'm
go.
gonna go Instagram poll.
Oh, there you go. Oh yeah,
That's
do a poll.
dope.
Do a poll.
That's a good. Let the people call it. I love
Okay,
it.
I think now, speaking of friends that we were not speaking of at all, but we'll get into it anyway. We have another guest question from one of your dear friends. Here we go. It's from Nirvana Ortonez.
What's the story behind the Red Kink Rail in Minnesota and your take on the history of guys versus ladies hitting spots?
Great question, Nerv. Let's give her an air horn.
That was a great question. The Red Kink Rail, that's a really long one I hit in my part last year. That was a scary rail. Let's preface that. That was a really scary rail. It had like all these little gaps in between, so it wasn't like you were hitting like a new rail every time you hit the flat and down. I don't know. I know that it's been done before. Like, I know it's been done by guys before, but I thought it was a huge personal accomplishment doing that rail, regardless if a guy had done it before. I don't know. I really like to keep tricks. Like, I don't want to divide it between like, oh, if a guy did it, like it's okay for you to do. I don't always want to live by those rules because I'm like, I think we should hold ourselves to a high standard as female snowboarders. But with that being said, I still think that was like a big accomplishment because it was a big rail that no woman had hit yet.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point. Like, what she's referring to is ABDs, already been done, which in the streets, if somebody backlips a kink, a couple of years before and you go back a little bit, it's a dude, you know, in the dude's world, a lot of times you're going to catch some flack for that. But I think it's fucking, it's different, you know, like women's first double cork versus, you know, it's not like an ABD if no woman's done it before, you know, in my opinion.
Yeah. I like to keep like, I don't always want to play it that way, being like, oh, like no girl has done it before. No, like female has done it before. I like to keep it like thinking of what guys have done also, not just being like, oh, well, a guy's done it, it's fine, I can do it. I want to keep that high standard for myself personally. But with that particular rail, I really think it was like just a cool accomplishment, regardless if somebody had done it before or not. Mm-hmm. And I know Hale, he put it on his Instagram, and I'm like, I wasn't in a video part. I was kind of going back and forth with like Ted Nirvana. I'm like, is this whack if I do it? Like, because I really want to. And they're like, do it. Like, who cares? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Who cares? Like, I mean, I care about snowboarding and integrity, but as far as personal accomplishment, that one was huge. That one was huge for me.
That's a banger. Let's talk about a couple other bangers of my favorite clips. The switchback tail in your veer part. First of all, how the hell did you get so damn good at switchback tails?
I don't know. I was trying switchback 50s one day, and it was kind of coming easy. So I'm like, what if I did a switchback tail? And it just the trick just kind of made sense. I didn't do it all the time, but it was just one of those weird tricks for me that just clicked. And I'm like, I like this. It's terrifying, but I like this. That was a huge accomplishment. I did it. Oh, I'm still like, no, I could have done it just like a little bit better. And I was trying the 270 out, which I got it, but I spun out early. I'm still like, that's one of those tricks. And I'm like, I really want to go back and do that even better.
It's chasing the dragon. She's still chasing the dragon.
Still chasing the
When
dragon.
will it stop?
That's good. You always want to be chasing the dragon. Another one other trick too that I'm fascinated with that I've never been able to do. You have the really good eggplants where you put your front hand down and make egg or eggplants, depending on which ones you do. But
I forget which one it is, if it's eggplant or Mick egg. I think I usually do a lot of Mick eggs because I keep spinning it through. Yep. But I haven't actually done a proper just eggplant because I know that's
regular.
Yeah, back
that's
to regular.
Really hard. Yeah.
There's a few people I've watched, like Reed do a really good one and Cole Navin do a really good one. And, like,
Bridges can do this.
Bridges can do a good one too. That trick is just really fun. That's like I feel like I learned a lot of stuff backwards, and that's like, I just kind of follow what seems to make sense in my head, and I just do it without too much thought. I'm like, this seems right. I'm just going to put my hand down.
That's killer. So, you know, as far as, you know, women coming up in the snowboarding space, I'm personally curious, do you have any advice for younger women or just women trying to pursue the thing and make it happen?
Yeah. Biggest one is just ask questions, find some mentors in your life. I wish I had done that sooner. Don't be afraid to ask people questions like, what do I do here? Because you're not going to look stupid. You're not going to look stupid at all. People are more than happy to give you advice. I'd say, especially like with how our whole snowboarding industry is now, like people are really down to share. Like the pie, I feel like we're trying to expand it. Everybody's in the same boat. So we're trying to expand it. So yeah, ask questions for people who have been before you. I think that's a big one. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid to try tricks that you might not land, or you might look really weird trying it first because you can't do it right away. Just stick with it. Try.
That's great advice.
Yeah, everybody's got to go through it. Everyone's got to learn.
Always, yeah.
Should we transition to some hot takes, bud?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely some
All
hot,
right,
hot
here
take
we
time.
go. First question. Michael Jordan of snowboarding, or greatest of all time, or however you want to take that, both male and female. Who you got?
For me personally, for guys, I think David Benedict. I think he was one of those people that was just ahead of his time, and had he really kept going on that track, I think he would have just blown people away. Like, he already blew me away growing up because he always was constantly innovating.
I don't think we've heard that one.
I haven't heard Benedict in here yet.
For women, that is literally impossible because I look up to so many women in our industry. Probably Jess Kimura, honestly. She is kind of the GOAT. She really is. She does big tricks in the streets. She does big tricks in the backcountry. She's just like a force to be reckoned with. She's sick.
She's dope.
Great answer. Next question is dream session with 3 people, or if you could have one dream session with 3 people, who would it be?
Probably just my best friends. Chris, my boyfriend. I love him. I love snowboarding with him. And Nirvana and Kelsey. Honestly, I love snowboarding with my friends. That's like nothing could beat that.
Solid answer. Worst trend in snowboarding?
Making fun of people that are trying to learn. I think that's the worst trend in snowboarding. The more snowboarders we have, the better for our industry. Like, it's fine to have your opinions, but if somebody's trying something and you're making fun of them relentlessly in a mean way, like, we don't need that shit.
Favorite person to party with?
I don't party as much as I did back in the day.
Hypothetically, if you're like, today, I'm going to fucking party.
I am going to go party.
Who are you partying with?
Let's go.
I know one person I would like to party with that I haven't partied with, Marie-France Roy, because I've heard she's just a freaking legend.
That's a solid
Heard
answer.
that too.
That's a solid answer. I love that. I think you fucking nailed it on that. All right. That kind of wraps up hot takes. I think we blazed through it. Now, a lot of our listeners love hearing about setups and board setups. And what do you ride these days? And what do you do to your board? You know, what's your setup like?
I've been kind of playing around with different boards. Like, I'm trying to get more into some backcountry stuff. But right now, I really love the K2 Limelight. I think that's one of my favorite boards. I'm kind of between the K2 Limelight and the Spellcaster. They're both solid boards. But I like taking all of my effective edge off because I'm a freak and I love buttering, and I feel like I catch my edge if I don't.
You go dull doggers.
I go dull, but I keep like all the contact points are just dulled out, but everything else I just do an upward bevel. I hate them fresh out of the box. I wish I could, but I just can't.
Love that. And what bindings are you rocking?
I have the K2 Meridian. Really like those. Like, nice medium flex binding. It's not like anything too stiff or too soft. Like, holds up when you need it to.
And you rock K2 boots as well?
Yep. Love their boots, honestly. I think they're kind of a quiet killer when it comes to boots. I like boa. I like the double boa. I've tried laces. I can't do laces.
And then you're rocking O'Neill outerwear?
Yep. All the O'Neill stuff. Really love all their outerwear. Good styles. Now,
aside from beveling your edges, do you go forward lean, or do you go flat high backs? Do you know your setup for that?
I usually kind of go more flat. I don't do too much forward lean. Kind of just like, I don't know. I should try and mess around with it, though. I think this year might be a fun year to toy around with it, especially more backcountry stuff.
All right, Melissa, it's been a hell of a chat with you so far. Before we wrap it up, do you want to say thank you to anybody?
Yeah, definitely. First off, I want to thank Chris, my boyfriend. He is just so awesome and has inspired me in so many ways in life and snowboarding. Very, very grateful to have him. All my friends, there's so many people I didn't mention in this episode, and I'm sorry, it's hard to think of everybody, but I love all of you guys so much.
They know who they are.
Yeah, I know who they are.
Love all you guys. You're all incredible. Couldn't make it in life, couldn't make it in snowboarding without you. All the people who support me, sponsors, K2, O'Neill, guess Backcountry Access, Ding, Crab Grab, Yakima. Thank you guys.
Killer. Well, we want to say thank you for coming on the show and being so damn inspirational.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you fucking...
honest, inspirational.
Awesome conversation, and I think you're going to help a lot of people out, and really, really enjoyed that. So thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you guys for listening each and every week, every Patreon member, every sponsor, anybody that has bought some of our ridiculous merch. Thank you guys. So we will have another episode coming for you next Wednesday. Thanks again, and over and out from the bomb hole.